Imagine this. You're pulled over and the officer asks if he can search your vehicle. You're frantically trying to decide whether you should say yes. What should you do? This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. We've discussed that sort of story a few times, but let's look at that more closely now. So that's happening, and really, what's the very first thing you should remember?
Well, in order to search your vehicle, the officer is going to need a warrant. And when he asks you if he can search your vehicle, you should say no, because he's going to get a warrant or need to get a warrant. And I can say in all my years of doing this, I haven't seen an officer get a warrant for a traffic stop. So your answer should be no.
Okay, so at that point, you don't have any other problems because you're saying no, and the officer has no right to search your car. Now, let's move a little bit ahead and say either the person forgets to say no or the officer keeps pushing. What are some other ways they can search your car?
Right. So, if you have an illegal controlled substance in your car, obviously say no. If you say yes, the result is the officer's going to find the illegal controlled substance and you're going to get a ticket or you're going to get arrested. And so you need to never say yes, always say no, do not give consent. That's the first thing.
Is there any way that an officer can override that and say they have another reason why they need to search your car?
Well, it's called probable cause. And so, the officer gets probable cause in various ways. A lot of times they'll say that they smell the odor of marijuana. And, maybe they do. Maybe they kind of think they do. We can't tell. You don't know. And, they'll say, I'm smelling marijuana here. Do you have drugs in the car? That's, they're going to start asking you about it. And, if you have drugs in the car, I would flat out say no. I don't have drugs in the car. Then see what the officer pivots and does next. Because he smells marijuana, he thinks, and the evidence then on his body camera is you said, nope, there's not marijuana in my car. And now he's going to have to do some mental gymnastics to figure out what to do next in order to search your car. He's going to want to get consent, and that's, 9 times out of 10 what happens in this situation. But, hold your ground. Don't admit to anything. If you don't feel comfortable saying no, just say, I'd rather not discuss it.
Is that the only ways that an officer might determine that he has probable cause, or are there more?
Well, if it's a canine officer and he has a drug dog with him, he can do what's called a free air sniff. So, he can say, well, I don't know, I kind of think I'm smelling marijuana here. If I'm going to grab my dog, and, as long as the dog's right there and it doesn't cause you further delay, he can run the drug dog around the vehicle. But, what are the chances you got pulled over by a canine officer? They are in the minority as far as officers go. If he doesn't have a drug dog, then he's going to call for one of his canine officers to respond to the scene. And this is where the clock starts ticking, and whether or not he's able to detain you along the side of the road and wait for that dog depends on a lot of things. And so, you're creating good issues for your lawyer to look at.
All right. So what about a situation where you have been stopped for something entirely different, and that, the officer has a reason to arrest you for that, but then says, oh, and by the way, I also want to search your car. Is that a different type of situation?
Well, generally speaking, an officer is allowed to do a superficial search of the vehicle upon arrest. Now, I rarely see this, on a DUI arrest, for example. The officer generally is not searching the vehicle unless, they arrest you for DUI and they smell drugs. Then you might see them doing a search, but they're not allowed to, do a deep dive in your trunk and, and all. It's generally for officer safety, and they're allowed to just do anything within arm's reach at that point. And so again, it's a superficial search, but it is allowed.
What about once you're not even with your car anymore? Do they have some right to just search your car?
Well, sometimes the officer may believe that the car holds some evidentiary value, and they might want to put it in their evidence lot. And so they will do what's called an inventory search to document what's in the vehicle because they've taken it into their custody. And occasionally they'll run across some illegal substances doing this.
Okay. Well, what about another incident where the person sitting in their car is saying, no, I don't have anything, and the officer can see plainly sitting right there that there is some kind of paraphernalia or a substance?
Yes, that happens quite a bit because people coming through Wyoming from a state where marijuana is legal, it's not at the top of their mind that, maybe they should put that in the center console. And it's just sitting there in the cup holder. Now, this plain view is another way that gives the officer probable cause to search your vehicle. And so, you might have a pipe or a vape pen, or maybe the dispensary packaging, or, some product from the dispensary, and the officer recognizes the packaging. This gives him probable cause to search your car as well.
All right. Well, all of this can be avoided by just saying no in the first place. And if you don't say no in the first place and any of this happens, you might need a lawyer. How do they get in touch with you?
Sure, we'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.